Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael in for Fran Stoddard. Our guest today has just wrapped up his first year as the Director of UVM Extension and the Associate Dean in the university's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. He's here with us today to discuss research, outreach, and scholarship in Extension and how Extension contributes to our quality of life statewide. It is a pleasure to welcome back Roy Beckford to Across the Fence. Good afternoon, Dr. Beckford. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Will, and good afternoon to you too.
Hey, congratulations on your anniversary. This is a bit of a milestone. So let me ask you to start with some reflection. What have been the professional rewards or challenges of the past year?
There have been many rewards. And I think once you look at those rewards and embrace them, then the challenges become minor. The greatest challenges, I think, if I should start there, have been what we refer to as the Great Resignation. We have had several resignations in my first year, and those were disappointing. It was disappointing to see people that I just met who were leaving. On the other hand, we have been able to a large extent to replace many of those people, and I'm looking forward to even add new employees to our pool of employees at UVM Extension. So that has been wonderful. Besides that, it's been wonderful to just get to know people both within the university and across the state of Vermont. It's a very warm, wonderful state despite the winter. And I really embrace and love that.
You mentioned to me before we got started with this program taping that you just attended the Northeast Extension Directors Conference hosted by the University of Maine. That brought you together with extension directors from institutions like Cornell, Penn State, University of Maryland, and a bunch of others. So first, what did you take away from that conference?
So let me just step back a second, Will, and explain what this conference is and who comprises the Northeast Extension Directors. These are extension directors from as far as West Virginia, sweeping upwards into New England. And it's approximately a dozen states, including, in addition to the District of Columbia. And there are about 16 universities there. And these universities also include historically Black universities and colleges. So it was a great opportunity to meet my colleagues in these institutions and to interface with them at every level, to chat, to get to know them face to face. This was my first face-to-face conference in about 4 years. So it was a wonderful experience just to be with human beings and to just hear similar experiences as mine. Many of them started during the pandemic. So it was just wonderful to share those kinds of just experiences. That was my greatest takeaway.
Well, so that's where my first question about your reflections and this piece about the conference sort of come together. This is about collaboration. So much of what you do in the depth of extension, everything from, of course, agriculture to youth, to natural resources, to food and nutrition, there's a huge diversity of what you're responsible for. So meeting colleagues, especially those who you don't know, I just got to believe that's been critical.
Absolutely wonderful and very critical to the work we do here too at UVM.
So ultimately, what does this conference or things like it, what does it mean to Vermonters? How do you translate it and come back from something like that and show proof of performance to Vermonters? What are you going to do with it?
A conference like this makes collaboration tangible. It makes the relationships that we're trying to establish come to life, because I'm meeting people, I'm touching base with them, I'm looking for folks who support some of the issues that we're trying to start here at UVM Extension. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for all of that to happen. We have large neighbors like Cornell, And we have smaller neighbors our size, including University of Delaware, Maine, Rhode Island. So we wanted to make sure that we were touching base with these folks, interacting with them, and looking for similar kinds of programs on which we can create synergy, which is exactly what we need in a small state like Vermont.
Roy, UVM announced just last month, again, you've been here just a year, and you're already receiving grants. UVM announced, as I started to say, just last month, you've received $125,000 for extension to research the potential development of goat dairying in Vermont. So tell us what that's all about.
So, well, remember that I have not always been an administrator. I've been an extension agent. I've been a county extension director. I've been a state agriculture leader in many parts of the United States. So I wanted to take a look at some of the emerging issues in the state of Vermont and contribute in any way I could. And so I contributed as a principal investigator on this particular grant from Vermont Creamery, which is looking at goat dairying as pretty much support of the dairy industry, and as cattle industry declines in the state of Vermont because farmers are aging out. Another thing is that there's a wave of immigrants looking increasingly for goat milk and other products made from goat dairy products like cheeses and so on and so forth. So I wanted an opportunity to look at what we can do in the state of Vermont to supplement cattle dairy and also to support the development and the establishment of new farms that can take us one step towards transformation of the industry.
I spoke recently with Agriculture Secretary Anson Tebbetts, and he actually literally echoed exactly what you just said. And I'm reminded there's an example of your collaboration. Your association now with the agency and other people in the state has been invaluable, not just for extension, but for the people of Vermont.
The Secretary of Agriculture has become pretty much a great mentor to me, and I look to him for support. I look for collaborative programs with the Agency of Agriculture that Extension can participate in and take away from, and that we can broaden and that we can work on together. So it's been a great opportunity for just collaborating at that level also. Not only are we collaborating regionally, looking for opportunities, and I've found them in the Agency of Ag to collaborate locally.
So this goat dairying, I understand that to be applied research, that is finding a solution to a specific existing problem, and you're doing it in Vermont with Vermont Creamery. Are there other examples of that type of research, the applied research that Extension is doing?
There are dozens of examples of that in Extension. Looking at issues in agricultural engineering, for example. Our agriculture engineer, Chris Callahan, has done quite a considerable amount of work making sure that our farmers understand what applied research is. It's taking research that's done in the laboratory or someplace else, taking it to the farmer's field, and making sure it becomes active and alive in the farmer's life. Making sure that costs and inputs and outputs are examined in a way that it becomes something that the farmer can then do on a daily, weekly, annual basis. That is happening in that realm, in technology and other in ways that we do covered agriculture, in the types of grains we use, varieties and so on, and all other aspects of life. Heather Darby, for example, is working in grazing. Certainly there's lots of applied technology and methodologies there too that farmers are learning and adopting and using that to the betterment not just of themselves, but to make the life and the livelihoods of Vermonters way better than it has been before.
Well, if you're just joining us, I'm speaking with Dr. Roy Beckford, the director of UVM Extension. And one of the things you talked about earlier was the Great Resignation, Roy. I know you've filled a number of positions, but you're also working now to fill three strategic areas of faculty positions, and I understand those to be forestry, agronomy, community development. Again, how will this work, these faculty benefit Vermonters?
Well, let me quickly try to explain what these are. So Vermont is somewhere between 76 to 78% forested. That means that this is a massive resource to our state. We depend on our forests for a number of environmental benefits and other benefits that accrue from our forest environments. Also, maple is a forest product, as you will imagine, and it's a major non-timber forest product that we get and we boast about quite a bit. So we wanted to make sure that we hire a faculty in forestry to be able to take advantage of all of that and to educate, just like I explained earlier, how applied research work. We want to make sure our forestry extension faculty can come in and start that kind of work to make it active and alive in people's life on a daily basis. In agronomy is really looking at soils and looking at production of crops. That connection is also important in the lives of every farmer. I mean, they start in the soil and they ends up with a product that ends up on our supermarket shelves. They just did not magically appear there. But there's work involved, and some of that support work for our farmers on a daily basis comes from our extension faculty and staff who make it their daily task to ensure that these farmers are educated about how to do this and do this well.
Roy, there's so much more that I would like to visit with you, including to ask you to look ahead after this first year, but that just means we'll have to have you back on the program because we are out of time. This is where I want to take a moment to point out that if you have questions or comments for Roy Beckford, the Director of Extension, you can contact him at the State Extension Office at UVM. The toll-free number is on the screen, and you can also learn more by visiting the website uvm.edu/extension. Roy Beckford, thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. Pleasure to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
And that
Always
is
my pleasure.
Our pleasure. That is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit Across the Fence.